Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, and those of you who continue giving on the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and YouTube to support the broadcast, we thank all of you for your commitment and for your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So before I go any further today, I want to take out a little time to thank you all for being with us these years. Today is, the first of the month, and we're right here. It's been years that you have been with us. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday. You've watched us grow in our platforms. You've watched us increase platforms. But you all have been with us consistently. And I will tell you that it is a blessing to be able to serve in such a way. When God gave us this revelation to begin the Daily Divine Direction broadcast in 3D, we just made a commitment to be faithful to God and to be here for our listeners and viewers. And it has been an amazing run. Just so you know, we're not envy. I'm just thanking all of you for consistently being tuned in. We've watched the broadcast grow to literally thousands of listeners and viewers, tens of thousands of listeners and viewers every single day. You tune in and you're with us right here, discussing all of the issues of life. We are thankful that you have a place to go, that God has provided a place for you to go to discuss all of the issues of life. And so we are honored to serve, and we are thankful for your continued support and being tuned in every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we're Facebook Live, we're YouTube Live, and we can be reached at Daily Divine Direction on YouTube. Every broadcast is archived in perpetuity, so you can go back and listen to them. You can go back and be inspired, but we will continue broadcasting every day, Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And I have to tell you, over the years, many of you have said, Pastor, could you expand the broadcast to an hour? We haven't gotten there yet, but of course we have done some new things that you can stay connected with us throughout the day, be encouraged, be empowered, be inspired by tuning in on our internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio, where we play music at WKAPfaith.com that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're going to continue to expand, and we thank all of you for your commitment and for your support. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you find your family dynamics to be extremely difficult. However, you're not certain how to make changes without hurting your mother. So listen, here's what's very interesting. Often for everyone, we all have family dynamics. Everyone's dynamics are different. There may be similarities between, you and your friends of family dynamics. There may be completely opposite ends of the spectrum of dynamics between your family and friends. But the reality is we all have family dynamics. You're concerned about hurting your mother, and she's elderly now, and you're concerned about hurting her emotionally. But you also indicated in your communication that you have irresponsible siblings. And you don't know how to make certain that you manage your own life and respond to your mother's cry out for help, for lack of a better term, for your siblings. And you say they're irresponsible. I get it. But one of the things you have to recognize, and you can do this without hurting your mother emotionally and without putting any additional stress on her, she's not in a position to help your irresponsible siblings. So she calls on you for help for your irresponsible siblings. You can't be responsible for them. So one of the things you're going to have to do is share with your mother. You can give them recommendations, you can give them suggestions on how they can improve the quality of their lives. But if they're irresponsible, life is going to happen. Life is eventually going to happen. And one of the things that we have to be mindful of is that, and my wife and I have talked about this many times over the years about people who have irresponsible behavior. If you interfere, and this is how you can explain it to your mother, if you interfere in the life of your siblings, you are getting in God's way. What you're doing is interfering with what God is doing because they expect you to be God. And because you feel the necessity to respond, because you don't want it to weigh on your mother's heart or on her mind, you feel the necessity to do what they ask you to do. When life begins to happen to them, they'll make some changes. But as long as we interfere in the life of others, even your siblings, who they are your blood relatives, you've got to know that it's really God doing something in their life. When life happens, that's exactly what God is doing. God is doing something in the spiritual realm that we can't see in the physical realm. The problem is that we want to interfere in that because we don't want to watch them go through it. Well, it's very interesting because the Bible tells us that when Jesus hung on the cross and all the sins of man was placed upon him, God turned his face. God looked the other way. And I'm not saying we bury our head in the sand. You can listen to their problems. You can let them confide in you. You can let them discuss their issues with you. But the moment you take action, and if you're not someone who can handle other people's issues, you've got to tune them out. In other words, you've got to shut it down. But if you understand that all you're doing is listening and you don't feel the necessity to take action, then you will get clarity and clear understanding. You'll get clarity that this is God doing something in their life that's going to make their life so much better. It will require them to develop and grow and flourish and thrive. We've got to understand that we sometimes become enablers. And what that truly means is that we're enabling others to do the wrong thing. Because I promise you, you will never enable someone to do the right thing. You might help someone to do the right thing. You might pour into someone who's doing the right thing. You can never enable someone to do the right thing because they're doing the right thing. We only enable people when they're doing the wrong thing, when they're making wrong decisions and making wrong choices. Then we become a crutch. We become a crutch for them to lean on to do. I preached a sermon long ago sin, self-inflicted nonsense. We enable them to do self-inflicted nonsense. Those are things that we do to ourselves that don't lead to us enhancing the quality of our life. So I would say to you, having a conversation with your mother will help her to understand that you're no longer going to interfere with what God is doing in the life of your siblings. And this is the perfect time to do it. It's the start of the last quarter of this year. This is a perfect time for you to have a conversation with your mother and explain to her that you now understand that you're interfering with what God is doing in the life of others. And see, I'll kind of walk us all through this so that we're all very clear, because this is a good communication that will help other listeners and viewers also. Here's the reality. So people interfere with what God is doing in the life of others for many reasons. One of those reasons is that we feel obligated to do for others when we're being blessed. We feel obligated. We have a better quality of life than someone else, we feel obligated. You know, there's a scripture that says the poor will always be among us. That means that we are always going to find methods to help those who are impoverished, both with physical insecurities and mental insecurities, issues. We'll find ways to help. We're not obligated to help. See, there's a difference. Obligated means that someone else is requiring you to do something for them. However, service requires us to find ways to help others. So we look for ways to help others. At the end of the day, you cannot allow yourself to become God to anyone else. Now, I know you may never say, I've never said I was God. No, you know you're not. But your actions are saying, I can be the intermediator. I can intercede on the behalf of someone else when God is trying to do something in their life. God's trying to do something to get their attention that will make their life much better long term than you giving them immediate gratification. So you have to have these conversations with your mother so it won't hurt her to understand that the reason you're not responding to your siblings' needs is because you truly understand that you're interfering with what God is doing in the life of someone else, in the life of your siblings. And if you really want a better quality of life for them, you've got to want them to really plug into the source. Not you, but God is the source of all things. Because remember, when we get to the place in life that we have a real relationship with God, I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about, as the Bible says, having a form of godliness, but lacking thereof. I'm talking about when you really have a relationship with the Lord, then God will do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power of God that works in you and works through you. That's how your cup runneth over, and you begin to have an impact on the lives of someone else. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you feel that your family takes you for granted. You say they don't appreciate you and feel that everything you have done is expected of you. And you want to know, how do you get the respect that you deserve? So let me say this to you. You've got to recognize that you always have to teach people how to treat you. Now, that doesn't mean that gives you carte blanche to just do whatever you want to do to people. What that means is that over periods of time, when you observe the behavior of others and you see how they're interacting with you, you see how they have expectation of you, but they don't really appreciate you, you have to teach them how to treat you. And what that means is that the things you have been doing, you're not required to do. And so because you're not required to do them, don't do them. See, you will know what God assigns for you to do. When we have a relationship with the Lord, God shows us everything in our lives that we're assigned to do. We enter into some people's life for a reason. We enter into some people's life for a season. And then some people's lives we enter into for a lifetime. Family, you never get to choose. You only get to choose how you allow them to treat you. So you have to recognize that if your family doesn't appreciate you, it's because you've allowed them to live without appreciating you. You've allowed them to conduct themselves the way they want to conduct themselves when it comes to you. You have to decide if you want to change that. You have to decide how can you feel appreciated, and then teach them how to appreciate you. Now, you might say, well, Pastor, appreciation is a word in the Webster Dictionary, and it has a definition, and that's what being appreciated should look like. However, you've got to remember that, first of all, everybody's not reading the dictionary, and second of all, people have their own personality traits. So, I'll use an example. My father, God rest his soul, was someone who read the dictionary every day. And then he would not only read the dictionary because he had become disabled. He would not only read the dictionary, he would look at a word every day in the dictionary, and he would study the meaning of the word. And one of the things that I learned from that is that as we grow and go in life, we have to decide how we're going to apply every word that is important to us to our lives. So you have to determine what appreciation looks like for you. You have to determine if what you're getting from other people is enough. And then if you're not getting what you need to feel appreciated, you have to eliminate what you're doing that is causing you to feel a lack of appreciation. Now, I know that might sound more complicated than it really is, or it might sound easier than it really is. But the reality is, you get to decide how you feel appreciated. You get to decide what that looks like for you. And even though it's family doing it, you still get to decide how you're going to respond to that. You get to decide if what you're getting back is what you're putting out. And then you have to say, okay, if I don't feel appreciated and I don't feel respected, then I've got to make some changes. You have to make that decision, because only you can make that decision. Overall, you know you have a good life. And overall, you know you've been blessed. You just are feeling unappreciated, taken for granted. You're there because you've always been there. But at some point in time, even family has to realize how important you are to the equation of life. And if they can't realize that, then you have to remove them from the equation. And what I mean by that is you can love them. You might have to love some of them from a distance. You can pick and choose who you are going to be responsible for, who you're going to be responsible for doing good deeds for. Now, I know some of you will say, well, that doesn't sound very Christian, just picking and choosing who you're going to do good deeds for. Well, the Bible talks about that. The Bible tells you if you get slapped in the face, turn the other cheek. But people have misinterpreted that to believe that meant stand there and be slapped again. That's not what it means. I don't know about you, but in my case, that means I need to turn the other cheek and walk away, because otherwise I might be provoked into defending myself. So I'm trying to be realistic when we have these topics of discussion, because we have to understand how important it is to navigate every component of life. There are so many components of everyday life. That's the reason we're here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, to address all of the issues of life: career, finances, entrepreneurship, marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, dating, relationship, whatever you can think of, we're going to respond to, because God's going to give us daily divine direction. God doesn't want to leave us out there, hanging out there, blowing in the wind aimlessly. He wants us to have clarity on how we can enhance the quality of our lives. And that's the reason that we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And this segment is also brought to you by The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers, who indicated that you are having several challenges in your professional environment. However, you are not certain how to address and resolve the issues. So this is really important, because what you said in your communication is that you have to first address them, address the issues, and then you have to resolve the issues. And that was well stated, because there's a difference in addressing. So you have to identify, first of all, what those issues are. You've got to change your approach to business and your personal schedule. So let me walk you through this. So in order to address the concerns that you're having in your professional environment, you have to really identify what the challenges are. You know, are they interpersonal skills? Are they time management skills? So, you know, you've got to be able to identify exactly what the professional challenges are, because you spend a lot of time, we all do, at least 10 hours a day, working on maximizing our professional success in whatever area, whatever sector that may be. So you've got to identify what the challenges are first of all. So let me kind of walk you through the challenges that you're having first of all. So you are having difficulties with interpersonal skills. You're having difficulties with time management. That's the reason I brought those two issues up. You've got to be able to learn to navigate other personalities. And let me tell you part of the problem with that is that so often we think because we spend so much time with people in a professional environment that they become our friends. They're not your friends. You will be able to identify, and I really should use this as an example. I really should use this as an example. I can hold up one finger because one finger is what you should be able to identify of who will remain a lifetime friend in your professional environment. That's about what you're going to get on average. Some people will never have one, some people might have two, so the average of that is one. Okay? So you've got to stop looking at everyone in your professional environment as a friend. They're not. You know, people have used terms of, you know, they're my work husband, they're my work wife, they're my work sibling. They've identified all of those things in a professional environment, and very rarely will you have a lifetime friend in your professional environment. You will have a lifetime associate, perhaps. You may have a short-term associate, you know, someone who even, you know, leaves the company that you're currently with, but there'll be a short-term associate there, but you all will share some business concepts and business ideas throughout the years. You've got to learn to navigate all those different personalities before you can decide who's going to be in your life for a reason, who's going to be in your life for a season, who's going to be in your life for a lifetime. You've got to be able to navigate all of that. So interpersonal skills are really important. Navigating other personalities is very important. Most importantly, it's important to maintain a professional relationship with them. And you've got to work on that. But then you have another issue, which is time management. And I've often said throughout the years, and I will continue to use this analogy, there are 5 components in business, 5 main components. You might find some other things, but there are 5 main components in business, and you have to learn how to manage those components and navigate those components effectively and efficiently. And part of the problem is that your personal schedule becomes more important to you than your professional schedule. And your professional schedule has to look like this. You have to focus on the administrative aspects of your career, the development aspects of your career, the management aspects of your career, the marketing aspects of your career, and the operational aspects. You've got to be able to do that. Each of those should take 2 hours daily to manage and navigate, which means you're putting in at least a 10-hour day. There's 5 components, 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours a day minimum that you're going to be working. And the problem is you would prefer to spend, I'll use the analogy, 8 hours sleeping, 8 hours working, and 8 hours on your personal time. Because society has taught us, to our own detriment, that that's perfect work-life balance. Everything is equal. Well, everything is never going to be equal. There's always going to be an imbalanced scale. And the reason is because it takes more work professionally to maximize your quality of life than it does for you to maximize your quality of life personally. It takes more time. And when we learn that and stop allowing society to conform us and transform our mind daily with the renewing of the mind to get to the place that God has purposed for our lives. You've got to change your approach to business and personal scheduling, and you will enhance the quality of your life. 3D, today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I look forward to being in your listening and viewing environment tomorrow. Remember, we are Facebook Live. We are YouTube Live at Daily